As 2022 comes to a close, I look back and think about the games that have graced the PlayStation this past year. There were standout AAA experiences like God of War Ragnarok, and smaller titles that stole my heart like Stray. But now, I want to look ahead to 2023 and the promise that the future of PlayStation gaming holds. Even though a lot of these games were on our 2022 list. These are, and in no particular order, so don't get any ideas, the biggest PlayStation games coming out in 2023 and beyond. The next installment in the storied series, Final Fantasy XVI, features fast-paced magic and swordplay, with a combat system developed by Devil May Cry and Dragon's Dogma veteran Ryota Suzuki. The story follows the life of Clive Rossfield, the son of an archduke, spread across the different seasons of his life and the ever-changing political dramas and conflicts between his and other kingdoms throughout the realm. In contrast to Final Fantasy XV, the world is not open to explore, but will feature large explorable areas throughout the linear progression of Clive's tale. Dive into the might and magic of Final Fantasy XVI, expected to launch in the summer of 2023. The Spider Boys are back, and together this time, in the next game from Insomniac. We don't know much about how the two heroes will work together, or whether a specific symbiotic suit will make an appearance. All we know so far is that Peter Parker and Miles Morales are facing off against the slimy Venom, voiced by Candyman actor Tony Todd. Spider-Man 2 is expected to launch sometime in 2023. Final Fantasy fans are eating good with yet another entry into the franchise, albeit a much more familiar one. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the continuation of the Final Fantasy VII story and will cover the middle chapter in the trilogy. Not much is known about the project, but the good news is that the Final Fantasy Godfather and game director Tetsuya Nomura has stated that the development is progressing rapidly, and that the final entry in the trilogy is already in development. He also stated that you can start cold with this entry, although Final Fantasy VII Remake is definitely worth checking out. Rebirth is expected from winter 2023 to early 2024. After 7 years in development, Rise of Ronin has been announced as the next action RPG from Nioh and Wolong creators Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo. Rise of Ronin is a combat-focused open-world action RPG that takes place in Japan during the Bakumatsu period, during the 19th century at the end of the Edo period. Between rampant disease, more prominent Western influence, and civil war between the Shogun and anti-Shogun factions, Rise of Ronin looks to depict a dark take on one of Japan's most turbulent eras. Along with its historical fiction setting, gameplay will consist of a combination of the katana action that Team Ninja is known for, and firearm technology introduced during the period. Rise of Ronin is set for release sometime in 2024. Okay, so let me get this straight. Forspoken puts you in the shoes of Frey Holland, a fish-out-of-water New Yorker transported to the fantasy realm of Athia. After being introduced to the talking cuff on her arm, she discovers the magical abilities that help her traverse and fight in this open-world adventure. With her skills in quick traversal and combat and even faster one-liners, Frey is the only hope for a land that is in desperate need of a hero. Join Frey on her journey to conquer the evils of Athia when Forspoken launches on January 24th, 2023. Konami is bringing us back to Silent Hill, developed by the creators of Layers of Fear and The Medium, Bloober Team. Bloober Team is working closely with the original creators of Silent Hill 2, iterating on the classic without completely reinventing the wheel. With an over-shoulder perspective, a rebuilt combat system, and changes to some of the set pieces, this remake looks to do to Silent Hill 2 what Capcom has been able to do with their Resident Evil series remakes. It's been 21 years. Are you ready to return to Silent Hill? If you are, you might have to wait a bit as the release date hasn't been announced yet. The launch of the PSVR 2 brings us a new, up-close and personal entry in the Horizon franchise. Guerrilla Games takes all the climbing, combat, and big ol' robotic dinosaur action that Horizon does best and shifts the perspective into the first person. Achieve redemption by reaching the top of the mountain when both Horizon Call of the Mountain and the PSVR 2 release on February 22nd, 2023. Speaking of February 22nd, 2023, here's just a few more games launching with the PSVR 2. Just a few. Cities VR Enhanced Edition, Cosmonious High, Demio, Hello Neighbor Search and Rescue, No Man's Sky, Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition, Swordsman VR, The Light Brigade, and Tentacular. So yeah, a light launch lineup if I've ever seen one. Remember Last of Us Factions? Remember how flippin' good Last of Us Factions was? This standout multiplayer mode from the original Last of Us is getting a standalone sequel. Not much is known besides some concept art, but Last of Us creator Neil Druckmann has confirmed that it will be Naughty Dog's biggest online experience, and will contain a completely new story and cast of characters. The concept art details a San Francisco setting, meaning that there will be new areas to explore within the Last of Us universe. No release date, but more information is expected next year. In 2016, independent developer Yang Bing posted a trailer for his upcoming project Lost Soul Aside. It took the industry and internet by storm, so much so that Sony invited the lone developer to be part of the China Hero Project, a Sony effort to help Chinese developers release games on the global market. With his newly founded studio UltiZero Games, Bing has released an official announcement trailer for Lost Soul Aside. The game looks fast-paced, with a focus on combat and platforming, reminiscent of the style of God of War and Devil May Cry. Although we don't have a release date yet, Bing has stated that the development progress of Lost Soul Aside is steadily progressing, and we are looking forward to provide more updates and details soon. Spider-Man isn't the only superhero under Insomniac's belt. The gruff-talkin', adamantium-infused Canadian Wolverine is getting his own game. If the short teaser trailer is anything to judge by, this game is going to be a much more gruesome affair than the adventures with the Spider-Man. The release date is set after Spider-Man 2, so to be announced. Originally known as Project Eve, Stellar Blade is the first multi-platform release from Korean developer Shift Up. The story follows Eve and her squad as they work to reclaim a mostly extinct Earth. Will you help the remaining survivors on Earth rebuild their community, or leave them to fend for themselves? Shift Up has stated that the decision is completely yours to make. The combat looks like a combination of Dark Souls and Bayonetta, combining fast-paced action and massive attacks with precise parrying and dodge mechanics. Sorry PS4 players, the game will only be coming to PS5 sometime in 2023. It's time to connect America. Again. The surprise sequel to Death Stranding brings back Sam and Fragile, along with unshown newcomers played by Elle Fanning and Shioli Kutsuna. In true Kojima fashion, the first major trailer that premiered at the Game Awards seems to tell us everything and nothing at once. One major omission, though, is a release date, so it may be a while before we find out why there's a Metal Gear in our Death Stranding game. BioWare's epic masterpiece in a galaxy far, far away is getting a from-the-ground-up remake on PlayStation. Aspyr, Sony Interactive Entertainment, and Lucasfilm Games are all working together to bring this beloved story to the modern age with modern tech, visuals, features, and more. Although the project was very early in development when it was announced, its release might be far off with the announcement that it was delayed indefinitely earlier this year. And there you have it. From epic fantasy tales and heroic escapades to remakes of beloved classics, PlayStation fans have a lot to look forward to in 2023. For more PlayStation content and everything else video games, keep it here at GameSpot.